Hello everyone, this is Michael from Profound Cloud. Super Bowl week is here, and so I thought I'd show you a really interesting Google Apps script and Google Sheet that my staff and I created to help you organize and automate your Office Super Bowl box pool. So one of the first challenges we needed to tackle was the ability to accept form responses that populate this 10 by 10 pool grid randomly with people's initials, because that's how a pool grid works. We have here a form which is linked to the spreadsheet, but unlike a regular Google form, this one's powered by AppScript, and so it does a little bit more. So for example, I'm going to buy 50 blocks here. I put in my information, I hit submit, and there's some Google Apps Script that then takes my initials and fills them in randomly throughout the 10 by 10 grid. Now, the most important thing to understand is the way to get your app script to execute when you actually submit the form. A very common use case if you want to even do something simple like send a confirmation email or something like that. So we have an onSubmit function which we wrote, which is great for starters. But then you also need to assign that function to run anytime a form is submitted. So we do that through the current project's triggers. You can see here we have the name of the function, which is onSubmit, and then we have it running anytime a form is submitted. And the function itself basically does what I just showed you. It fills up the block randomly. Okay, moving on, we needed a way to then actually close the pool and close the form itself to responses when the box pool had filled up. So let's say Tom Brady comes along and buys the other 50 blocks. That's probably not allowed, but for the sake of argument, let's say he does. Okay, if we flip back, we'll now see that Tom has purchased the other 50 blocks. And then a couple things have happened. Number one, the form itself has been closed off to accepting any more responses, which is great because the pool is done and we don't want to accept any more responses. And the way that we did that was with a simple method on the form object that's called setAcceptingResponses. So if you need to programmatically modify a form to shut off at a certain time or turn on at a certain time or after a certain number of responses, that's a really great way to handle that. So again, just another way to make Google Forms a little bit smarter. Next, we wanted a way to be able to live update the score of the game. I will switch to another game, which allows you to kind of see how this works. So we have a configuration dialog here. And one interesting thing that we found is that NFL.com had a sort of live feed in what's called JavaScript object notation format. So just in layman's terms, it's just a really easy way for us to basically from the NFL.com website pull in scores in a way that was really easy for our Google Apps Script to read. So we used a function to pull that in, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the actual game ID here. And you'll notice after a moment that the scores from last week's game are going to pull in automatically. And another interesting thing that happens is that the team logo is actually, and the abbreviations for the teams actually pull in automatically. So here you can see the score, and then it has automatically determined the winner from each quarter. The key function there that you want to understand in our update game stats function, which is the function that performs the task I just showed you, is the URL fetch app.fetch function. So again, a really common example for using Google Apps Script is pulling in some kind of data from an external resource. So here it's NFL.com, but it could be your CRM or project management platform or anything like that. So that's an extremely useful function for just pulling in data from another website. And the rest here of the heavy lifting is really done with formulas. And that's something that's really important to understand too, is that even something that may seem fairly complex, like determining the winner by the last digit of the score, that's actually something that's just accomplished with a series of AppScript functions. In this case, we use the mod function. That's the modulus operator, which lets us get the last digit of the score. And we have the match function, which allows us to look for the row and the column that contain that score. So same thing here with the team logos. It's actually just our image function, and it pulls directly from the NFL.com website, and it plops in the name of the team and is able to pull in the image. You can see that if I were to manually change this to the Eagles, my favorite team, because boy, I wish they had won last weekend, it puts in the image logo automatically. Same thing with the blocks left formula. So I hope this really helped you to see this demo, and I hope this encouraged you to go out and experiment more with AppScript on your own. And I hope you enjoy.